Attention everybody, the views and opinions expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So back after long last, Skylar Carter with the Power Hour. Take it away, Skylar.
Woo! Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Power Hour, everybody. My name is Skylar Carter, and currently on the phone, I have my cousin Cody Drew, who will be joining the show with me today. But as we get started, like always, I am going to give everybody a little time to get on and come watch us. So I will just speak for a little bit and give everybody a little time. And now somebody's calling me on my phone. So give me 1 second. I got to start this watch party first. Okay. This is what I always have to do. And there we go. I don't know if you showed it, Cody. If you have, go ahead and do it. So anyways, good morning. This is the Power Hour. This show, if you've never watched our show before, this show is just meant to encourage you only with your walk with Christ, with whatever you're dealing with or whatever the troubles or circumstances that you might be going through. This is just a show that is only supposed to build you up in your faith. No matter what you're going through, especially in times right now when, there's a lot of things and being said around in the world about different things, politics and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that we don't seem to focus on is God and the true importance of Him. And sometimes we look to politics and the news and things other than what we should truly be seeking, because He's the one that's going to lead us where we need to be ultimately. So this is a show just to encourage you. That's why it's called the Power Hour. It's an hour of power, as I like to say. It's in the name. So thank you all for watching the show. I really appreciate it. And if you would, after you watch the show, just share. Share it to anybody who needs the encouragement, or if you just share it in general, because I guarantee you there's a lot of people out there who won't tell you that they're hurting, who seem fine, but on the inside they are hurting, and you can't tell. And I was one of those, and I believe Cody was too, but I'm good at hiding things, and we'll get into Cody right now. And he's my cousin. He's my older cousin, and I will say we are pretty similar in a lot of ways, and about how we grew up, and just in life, we're just pretty similar with things. So, and he lives in Texas, and I'm gonna have him kind of tell the rest. So, Cody, still there with me?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Cody, if you could just tell us, man, just a little bit about, kind of start, from the beginning, and I don't want you to skip out on anything. Tell, obviously, whatever's on your heart. Don't hold anything back, because I don't, and nobody else does on my show, because I tell them not to. So, just kind of from your childhood growing up. What was your Christian faith like to begin with, I guess?
Yeah, so, if people know you, they pretty much know that our grandfather was a pastor,
mm-hmm.
and, his son, which is my dad, was leader of worship. My mom played the organ. So we grew up with my grandfather in his church. And, that's the only church I knew of for a long time, Pine Valley Baptist. And I think it was a Sunday night service when I was 9. I remember laying down in the back where Grandma sat, and it just came on me like, my grandpa's talking to me right now. And so he did an altar call, and I walked down, prayed the prayer with him, and I felt good about it.
Yeah.
Felt like it was what I was supposed to do in that moment. you know. But as I got older, I guess I became more aware that, you know, yeah, I made that decision, but it didn't impact my life. It didn't change my life. I didn't live it out.
Yeah. So you committed, but just didn't carry out the lifestyle of pursuing God.
And that,
Right.
yeah, that's correct. And, you know, so I mean, I grew up with, you know, again, parents that were involved in church. My older brother, he's 3 years older than me. He had already given his life, and I'd say that he was living it. I believe that he led it from a young age, and he's continued to live it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had these three positive role models in front of me, and so when I knew I wasn't living that, you know, I knew I didn't have it, being him. And so I'd say I moved to Grapevine. I'm from Friendswood down here south of Houston.
Yep.
And moved to Grapevine when I was 13, which is up there near Dallas.
Okay.
And up there in Dallas, or in that area, is mega churches. You know, it's Fellowship, it's
what's his name?
Gateway.
Yeah, what's his name's church?
A bunch
Joel
of big
Osteen.
churches. You
Yeah.
know. So we got involved there and went on a church camp when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And at that, it was in Gulf Shores, Alabama. And again, it was one of those weekends where everything was just speaking to me. And so I did a recommitment, but decided to give my life, you know, fully and transform my life, type of deals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that again when I was 16. And as you hear this story, you're going to hear a lot of going up and doing it, and then falling back down. And you know, the power of his conviction just keeps, you know, bringing me back to him. But then my selfishness would fall away. It just became a pattern in my life,
Mm-hmm.
where I get that church camp high type relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
And then quickly fall back into.
Yeah, it's funny. It's just when you, what do they say? Don't be the Sunday churchgoer. You know, don't be going just on Sunday and praising the Lord and loving the Lord, and then all of a sudden, once the rest of the week hits, you go back to work and you're living a whole different lifestyle. So I know what you're saying. Anyways, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're good. I need help talking.
Nah.
For sure. So yeah, it was one of those things. I surrounded myself by a lot of good people. Jimmy Draper, he's a pretty popular evangelist. His grandson was one of my closest friends in Dallas, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to spend a lot of time at his house with his parents. So I mean, it was all there. You know, it was living like I should, but then I also was a closet Christian at that time too, in a way. You know, I played football. I was an athlete.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I'm going to jump into that real quick. So so we've got an athletic family. I'm just going to say it out there right now. We have a pretty darn athletic family, and I think our family would be pretty great at taking a lot of other families on at sports and beating them. I'm not going to lie. Anyways, just wanted to brag about my whole family real quick. I wanted to get, your football career. Go ahead.
That's where I was kind of the closet, you know, and like you were saying about don't be the guy who goes to church on Sundays and is a Christian and then leaves. That's how I was, you know. I wanted to please the guys that were in the locker room with me that looked up to me. Yeah,
because you were the star athlete. You were. So
yeah,
I remember coming to watch you, and you picked one off, and then I just remember they hit you late on some dude. Anyways, keep going. I'm distracted.
Yeah, so I started on varsity at a bigger school, when I was a sophomore, and it, you know, I was a younger guy, but a lot of people looked up, so I was looked up to a lot.
Yeah.
And that pressure kind of made me want to please them, and not be who I
And
knew I was or who I wanted to be.
yeah. And another thing,
But
Cody, I question is your dad was a principal too. Was that?
that's what I was about to say.
Oh,
yeah.
I was going to say, is that more pressure even on you? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody
So
knew
my
he's a
dad was-
Christian man.
Yeah, he was a principal, and I mean, I didn't get away with anything.
Yeah. Neither did I.
and-
Hey.
And I mean, everybody could be in the hallway with hats on, and I would be the one singled out. And every time, you know, my dad would always tell me, you know, everywhere I was, you know, I didn't just represent me, I represented everybody with
Right.
the Drews, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his reputation is on my shoulders, my mom's reputation, my brother's,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was hard, yeah, and you know, with the principal part came a lot of people that got in trouble a lot. They didn't like my dad,
Yeah. Yep.
so they took it out on me, who's the star athlete. That, you know, they knew if it was win-win for them, I would fight them and, you know, get in trouble or you know, not, and they'd be messing with the principal's son, and
Right.
you know, so they did a lot of that. You know, I remember
So you had to
days on end where
stick up
people
for
would
yourself.
blow air horns in my ears,
Okay, grief.
knowing that I couldn't really do nothing, and you know, I'd have to tell them, you know, I'm not gonna fight you, but you do it again, I'd have to walk off, and then they'd find something else to do, you know, and so it's never ending, and it didn't only happen at school.
Yeah.
It happened at home. We had guys vandalize our home,
Jeez, man.
you know, do all kinds of crazy stuff. So anyway, kind of getting off track or kind of out of my mind here a little.
No, you're good.
So I was just basically in high school, was one who was a different person depending on who I was with.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get older, you know, look back, that's not the way to go. That's not what he calls us to do. And so that took me to, you know, college. And, you know, when it gets to college and playing, you know, I got real homesick.
Mm-hmm.
So I found a college back toward home
Yeah.
that my brother was at. One of my close friends at the time, who was a quarterback, he was transferring there. So we kind of all packed up and went.
Yeah.
And it was 30 minutes from my house. It was a university, D1 school. And this is kind of where
Life took a turn.
my responsibilities that I should have had, I didn't get. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't discover it. I mean, in high school, I dabbled. I drank here and there,
Right.
you know, or if something popped up, I'd take it.
Right.
I will say that my senior year, in the third game against Denton, I got caught a pass and was running, and I got pushed out of bounds, and the dude was hanging onto my leg, and some other guy came and just cleaned my clock.
Really?
And I tore my knee up and my ankle up pretty bad.
Uh-huh.
I was out for practice for the rest of the year. But on games, I know that I played on pain medicine.
Okay.
And so I took that. That's probably when it first started.
So you started taking pain meds your senior year?
Well, I mean, it was, I took, that was the first time to have taken them, yes.
Yeah.
Didn't necessarily start taking them then,
Just-
but
Yeah. Just
I knew
dabbled
it
with
worked.
them throughout high school.
yeah. And so, I mean, it wasn't anything crazy. So when we're at, you know, at the college with my close friend, we discovered, well, not discovered, but we started just smoking marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to a point, man, where we would wake up for school
Smoke.
and smoke and then just play Tiger Woods golf on PlayStation all day.
Yeah.
And Quickly, my GPA was a point something. I obviously was not able to come back to the university.
Yeah.
So I moved back home, and right at this time too is when, my senior year is when they announced, or Bush announced going to war.
Okay.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that serves,
Yeah.
or that has tried to serve and couldn't. I don't have what it takes to do that. So I want to start off there.
I agree. Yeah, thank you all.
So get back home and go to a community college. And when I got home, everybody that I had hung out with from high school had left and went their ways. So I was kind of stuck with having to choose people to hang out with that were already there.
Yeah.
And that crowd wasn't the right crowd.
So
straight up.
Yeah. So question. So do you think the reason why maybe you took drugs or maybe started drinking, do you think to begin with was just to try, and then maybe, it takes some of the pressure off and makes things a little easier type of thing? Would that? Or...
I would say is trying to fit in.
Yeah. Okay.
To be honest.
Yeah.
The guys I hung out with half the time weren't lifelong friends.
Right. Yeah.
And trying to please those guys, you're not going to make the right choice.
Right.
But I didn't like any of it. I've always had a kind of a fear of or a phobia of not being in control of myself.
Mm-hmm.
Swimming under the water, it kind of freaks me out a little. Being as a passenger in a car kind of gives me anxiety. Flying, I'm not really in control of it, and so that kind of stuff would take me to a point where I would, and I've always been funny.
Yep.
I was voted eternal freshman, so I knew that if I had a beer in my hand or something, I could not drink, but still have the fun that I was having.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does.
So started hanging out with these guys, and that's when I first realized, like, so many people were doing so many different things that you just had no idea about. And they kept it hidden, and so.
Yeah. You can get real good at hiding stuff once you.
Yeah.
Learn.
And so, if it was there again, I would try it. And that's when, anything that was there, I tried.
Yeah.
Ecstasy, cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
No needles. Never did anything with needles. Won't go there.
Yeah.
Any of the pills. And so it was.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were in.
No, I'm just.
Came back home.
It was and I started seeing this girl that I knew I shouldn't have, but anyway, it kind of. I was 22 at this time.
Okay. I was gonna ask you.
Or 21, and it's right before my 22nd birthday, and so she put her phone on my charger, and she got a message. And we're at this buddy's house.
Is this your fighting story? I'm just asking.
No.
Oh, okay. Anyways, go.
Yeah, and he her phone had a message, and it said, "When you're not dating, 5 guys at once, we'll talk about getting back together." And that made me mad, and of course, any guy. And so it was just us hanging out, and I was like, "Man, who is this guy?" So I got his number and called him and asked him where he was. And he told me, and I told him, you better be ready. I'm coming to talk.
So here's the only difference between me and Cody is Cody will go and stick up, I won't.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
anyways, go.
so I remember these guys were too wasted to have gone. And so I showed up, and I was listening to a Roy Jones Jr. song, "I Can't Be Touched."
I remember the exact
and
song.
the
too.
irony in it in itself.
Yeah.
And at this time, I'm been in the gym.
You're swole.
I'm in shape and doing all kinds of stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I showed up, and when I pulled up, there's about 25 people sitting at this apartment complex, standing outside.
Oh my gosh.
And I get out of the truck. I mean, I put it in park before I even put on my brake, so I skidded in. And I was like, yo, where's this guy? And I'm not going to say names here, by the way, but
Yeah.
like, where's
no,
this
that's
guy?
good.
I'm like, man, he's back here. Why don't you come get him? I was like, man, I want to. And that's why I'm asking, where is he? And there's about 20 guys, walking toward me. I'm not thinking anything bad's about to happen.
What were
at
you
all.
thinking?
I was thinking what I was going to do when I talked to him.
I mean, were they
No,
approaching? Like, were
no,
you
like
scared
they
at all?
couldn't hear me because it was kind of like a yelling.
Ah.
Yo, where's he at?
Okay.
And I'd been drinking that night,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. So before I knew it, about the third time I asked for him, my truck's on my right, and I got 20 guys circled around me, and the first guy that was right there in my face, he pulled out those plates that you put on an Olympic weight bench. And
The
back
little-
in high school in early 2000s, they were solid iron.
Yeah. Yep.
So he had a 5-pound plate, and he had his fist formed with the edge of that plate, like kind of like where brass knuckles would be.
Yep.
And so he pulls it out, and I mean, these guys had cinder blocks, bats, rocks,
Gosh.
steel pipes, plates, you name it.
Yeah.
So he's in my face. I knew I had nowhere to go, and so I took my shirt off, and I said, all right, man, you better knock me out or kill me. And he said, what? And I said, you better knock. And as I said that, he just popped me right in the mouth.
Gosh.
And I mean, steel to the teeth, and immediately I knew I was screwed. And I couldn't talk. And so I kind of spit a little, and just fragments of my teeth and my bones in my mouth were just all over my hand. And I started kind of laughing at him, like, I told you, son. And at this time, I guess that was their stud, so about 12 of them ran off.
Oh,
And now there's about 7 or 8 of them left. And it just kind of went crazy,
yeah.
for a few seconds. And then those guys that had ran off, I could see in the corner of my eye, were running back toward me. And that's when I was like, they're going to kill me.
Yeah.
They went and got guns, and they're coming to kill me. And so I took off running.
I mean, you're scared, right, at this point?
Yeah, at this point I got scared. Like,
Yeah.
reality hit in.
Yeah.
Like, man,
Sunk in.
I'm in a bad spot all by myself. And so where we're at is right next to a busy highway, right there in Grapevine, where DFW Airport is, right at the 114, 121 part.
Yeah.
So we're right off the highway. And so I take off running. And this is about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm running, and I run across the access road, and I stop and look back, and I mean, they're all running after me.
Gosh.
And so I'm like, man, y'all, what do y'all want? And they kept coming. I was like, man, they're going to kill me. I'm going. But at this place where we're at, between the access road and the highway is probably 20 yards. Well, along there, somewhere in that grass line, at about knee high, is a wire to prevent cars from jumping.
Okay.
So while I'm running, you know, after the second one, I'm running. Well, I come up to that wire and it hits me right in my knees, and of course I go flying, face plant right into the ground, and again, I start gagging on shards of my teeth.
Ugh.
So I pop up and they're closer, so I take off and I get in the middle of the highway, and I'm like, all right, man, this next car is gonna stop her. It's gonna hit me because these guys, I have nowhere else to go, you know. And the car stopped, and when they did, the guys ran off, and I truly believe like this car was sent at that time, at that moment, because right next to where we got jumped is a mental hospital for people that kind of can't control themselves. It's like a psychotic hospital, like where you're like, I don't know what they call them, but you know, like you insane.
Yeah.
You know? But
I know what you mean.
so I'm right there, got my shirt off, I got blood everywhere, and it's a young mom with a 15-year-old girl, 14 or 15-year-old girl driving. So it's a young mom with a young daughter, no dad, no nothing, at 2 o'clock in the morning, right by this insanity hospital, stopping for a guy that's got blood and he's running around on the highway. So they stopped, and I used their phone, and they were trying to tell me to call the cops. So at the whole time, I'm holding my mouth so they don't see it. I now know I'm.
It's kind of crazy that a mom and a 14-year-old daughter stopped for a bloody man in the middle of a highway at 2 a.m. in the morning, because I don't know very many would do that.
and they actually followed up years after.
Okay.
They knew who my dad was, and
that's cool.
And stuff. So it was pretty cool. They kind of stayed in touch for a little bit.
Yeah, that is cool.
So I called my dad, and didn't want to call the cops. Like, I immediately wanted revenge.
Yeah.
And my dad just gotten back from out of town, and I called him. I'm like, Dad, you know, I just got jumped. You need to come up here and get me. He's like, what? You're going to have to tell your mom. I'm like, what the heck? I was like, okay, where is she? You know, and he's like, she's right here next to me. I'm like, Dad, what are you talking about? He's like, okay, I'm awake now. What? And I told him, I just got jumped. You need to come up here and get me.
So
and
he just wasn't fully awake.
Yeah, and so he's coming. Well, after I get off the phone, cops are showing up, and they pick me up and take me back to where I was, and you know, it was just blood and glass, all kinds of stuff just everywhere.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to the cops, and my mom and dad are there, and they want to take me to the ambulance. And I was talking to my dad, but I told him, don't let Mom come.
Okay.
And so she's standing off, you know, a couple yards away. And I had to walk by her, and I just covered my face. Like, I'm sorry, you know, walked into the ambulance. And
so you felt the shame.
Yeah, I immediately knew I screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, and let me rewind this a little bit. You know, Draper had moved back too.
Your buddy, right?
And so he was at home, and some of his buddies were there. Well, right before I got jumped, they knew I was hanging out with the wrong people. They actually came to my house and like, Cody, you can't come over no more if you don't change yourself. Like, you're not representing who we hang out with.
And did that speak
so
to
I'm
you?
like, man, who are y'all to judge me? Get out, you know, throwing that old fit. So I get jumped, and of course they have to take me into the hospital. I had to have surgery that day, the next day. And they had to do some, you know, steel plate placements and all this stuff to get my gum line. They shattered my upper maxilla and basically all my front teeth.
Yeah.
And So after that surgery, you know, I'm coming home. It's now 7 p.m. of the following night. Well, the buddies I had been hanging out with, they weren't there. But those guys that said I needed to change, they were all at my house.
Mm.
You know, so it kind of woke me up like, man, I screwed up,
Yeah.
you know. And I guess this is where, like, the story kind of really starts
Yeah.
with this whole ordeal with my life and where it led to. Because as you know, surgeries comes pain.
Yep.
With pain comes prescriptions.
All right.
And had a lot of surgeries pretty close together.
Mm-hmm.
And each one was, you know, the prescription Vicodins. And I think on my sixth surgery was a bone graft surgery. And I woke up in the middle of the bone graft.
Oh.
And you know, you can't go back under when you've woken up, I guess.
I didn't know that.
So they had to
Gosh.
cut out, huh?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they still had to cut out one bone, which they did is they took the bone from basically where your tonsil teeth would be,
Yeah.
and then they were screwing it all up in my top gum line. And
God.
so I felt them cut out a bone, and then they placed all the bones. So I mean, it was numb feeling, like I wasn't agonizing, but I just remember getting home and none of the pills were working.
So that just made you
And
want to take more?
well, it wasn't more, and at this time my mom and dad are, you know, controlling it and stuff, and they ended up prescribing me Oxycontin. Is what ended up happening.
Yeah.
And you know, that helped. And during this whole time, you know, of course, we're not the military type of people. We respect them. We just know we can't do it.
Yeah.
And so I stayed in school just in case they did do a draft or something that.
And this was during the war was getting ready to start and all this stuff, right?
Yeah, we had probably started
Iraq.
already. It had probably been 2 or 3 years after.
Okay.
So while at this community college, those guys that jumped me were all recent graduates. So a lot of them also went to the same county college that I was at. So I got to see a bunch of these guys pretty much daily. And of course that fueled the fire.
Yeah.
Bad dreams or thoughts of what I would do to these kids, what I wanted to do, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't.
So ended up after my last surgery, it took me to a psychiatrist, who diagnosed and started treating me for PTSD.
Okay. Because of the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, before my last surgery, I was prescribed the Vicodin before I had the surgery. Well, before surgery, I'd already taken them all. So now I'm about to go through another surgery, and I'm not going to have any pain meds. So that's, I guess, the first time I ever went out and bought something.
Okay.
And had to seek somebody that knew them and had them.
Yeah.
And I got them. And so I bought them, and now I knew that, hey, I don't have to take 1 or 2 every 4 or 6 hours. Ain't nobody know I have these. I can take 5 or 6 of these, you know, every 4 or 5 hours. Shoot, whenever I want.
Right.
And now I know where to get them. And that's when it all started. And you know, I told you last night on the phone, like our blood is, you know, we're 100% in everything that we do. We're either 100% in or we're 100% out.
Yeah.
You know, we do things at a high level and we want to go all out in it. And I went all out.
Yeah.
And I'm
So
talking.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So when this started, and you found out where to get everything, and you started to go all out. What was the effect that it had on you and the relationship with the people that loved you around you during this time?
Well, I was so good at putting on front.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I knew how to change myself when I was with this group of guys to fit in with these group of guys, or
Right.
when I was with that group, or when I was at home, or when I was at church. So it was just a big lie, basically, to a lot of the people.
Yep. Well, I did the exact
I
same
do
thing.
know that, you know, you had to you would do anything for money.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you hurt people the most,
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, and I'm not saying necessarily, I wasn't necessarily stealing stuff as much as I was getting rid of my own stuff that had significant meanings
Yeah.
and that I wish I had today, type of stuff, or going to friends' houses and literally raiding the medicine cabinets and having a bag full of Tylenol with me because I would take all their pills out, and then I would take the Tylenol and shape them with a knife and carve on them.
Wow.
And then I'd take a highlighter, so if they were yellow, I'd paint them yellow with a highlighter and then reburst them. You know.
Wow. So you had a strategy of how to cover everything up, too.
I did.
Yeah. Man, we've got some evil, corrupted minds when we don't love the Lord, or we don't pursue Him.
I couldn't hear you.
I said we've got some corrupted minds when we don't love the Lord and follow Him.
Well, and it's crazy too because you start to believe it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, and that becomes your new honesty.
Yep. Yep.
And
when you start to lie so much, and put on a front, because I did the exact same thing. Go ahead.
So the pills was my DOC, the drug of choice.
Yeah.
It was the 10 milligram codeines, the colored ones, and I didn't hesitate. I wanted that feeling, and when I stopped getting that feeling, I started taking more. So what was at 3 or 4, you know, at a time became 7 or 8 at a time, which became 12 or 13 at a time. And I got all the way up to taking around 25 at a time, you know, probably 3 times a day.
Oxycontin.
And say it again?
Of oxys, right? Oxycontin.
No, not oxy. Hydrocodone. The 10 milligram hydrocodone.
Either way, whatever it was, up to 25 a day. That's a lot.
I mean, you do that any day, you're gonna overdose.
Yeah,
you know, and
for sure.
and living that life and working and doing that, it wasn't good.
So during this time, when it progressed, did you just start to get numb? How was life at this moment when you were taking all those? What?
Life was still the way I wanted it to be.
Okay.
Honestly, I knew it wasn't following the Lord.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to church.
You were doing what Cody wanted to do, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I wasn't gonna let those guys that jumped me affect any day of my life.
Yep.
And so I kind of was extreme with it.
Okay.
And man, it just took me through a roller coaster, you know, losing friends, gaining new friends. Man, it was just it was all over. And got to a point where family was moving back down to Houston.
Okay.
After about a year or 2. Okay, so it took 2 years for the court case to settle.
Okay.
For it, and restitution was super high. Insurance didn't cover my dental work. They thought just a little retainer teeth could put me back to normal. So all this stuff had to go on credit cards and accumulate interest, and so when we get and and mind you, I bounced around like a pinball. You know, I would get my life and be like, man, you know, this is it.
Yeah.
And I'd start my prayer life. Now, the only thing I didn't get rid of was the pills.
Right.
I'd go to church on pills, but I would do what I thought I needed to do and have the faith I needed to have at that time, but I still did not get rid of the pills.
Right.
Does that make sense? So I changed my life spiritually, but not fully, I guess. I don't know.
No, that does make sense. You're kind of living the lifestyle, but you're putting on the front for everybody, but you still have that little sin that you like to do. But you're trying to.
Yeah.
You're trying, but you still just have that little sin you're holding on to. I know what you're saying. I'm pretty sure everybody gets it.
So we showed up at court.
We got 5 minutes, Cody, but I'll tell you when we're. Keep going.
I showed up at court and we were going over the case and they're charging this guy with some pretty serious charges. Now it's 2 years and this kid's gotten in trouble. He's sold steroids across the border and got caught, stolen stuff from Nordstrom and got caught. And so he shows up and I see him. This is the first time to see this specific guy who busted out my teeth. Mm. And the guy looked good, you know. He didn't look strung out.
He's a good-looking man.
And so, well, no, he just looked healthy.
Yeah, I got you.
And so I was in a moment of having my high spiritual life at that time. And they came up and they're like, hey, he wants to drop the charges. I was like, no way. And he's like, you know, well, this is what we could do. And I was like, no, if he wants to drop the charges, I want to have a one-on-one with him. And my one-on-one with him was not a fight one-on-one. It was a, hey, I know you were an atheist. I mean, don't believe. I know you've never had the word. I want to talk.
Okay. So
anyway,
you wanted to speak
truth.
The Lord into his life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm like, man, well, it came down to, okay, I'll write a letter, and the state of Texas will give it to his lawyer and read it. And in doing so, we would get full restitution. So it worked out, and in that letter, man, I just shared it all. I still have that letter on the computer that's halfway broken. And so, I mean, we can wrap it up with this part and come back. So at this point is when we're getting ready to move back to Houston, and I'm still using, you know, secretively.
Okay.
And secretively, and when I said, like, you could lie about it, I mean, you believe your new lies, you believe the lies you're living in. Mm-hmm. I knew many times I was popped for a random heat test for drugs. And I'd be like, man, that's clean, that's clean, that's clean, that's clean. I'd get there, I knew I'd fail, I failed, and then I immediately had a story for it. You know, it was like, man, I'm clean, I'm sober, I don't do none of that stuff. But, you know, you just become fixated on it, and you believe it, that it corrupts your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Is that what you're aiming with? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. Okay. Yeah, we got 3 minutes left. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's so. I'm trying to pick up where to go from here in the last 3 minutes, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, I can keep going.
No, you're good. No, well, I don't want you to stop in the middle of a story and then try to remember last week. So, yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll end it with prayer here in just a second. But as you guys are listening, everybody who's watching and listening, if you would, just please share this. This is my cousin Cody. He's telling you his life testimony pretty much of what he went through and how he got out of it. Now, we're only partial into the story, so this will probably be like 3 or 4 part type, whatever you want to call it, series or whatever. So you can always go back and rewatch these as well. Just go to Acts Media Group or go to my page My name's Skylar Carter, or go to Cody's or whoever. And it's also on YouTube and Twitter as well. Just type in Axe Media Group. You can find us there. You can always, like I said, always go back and rewatch these. But I wanted to thank you all. And if this does encourage you, now today he just kind of went through part of his story of, how he got involved with things. And so next week it will be more upbringing of his life and kind of what he went through and how he's getting out of it and what he did. So anyways, thank you all for watching, and I hope this does encourage you. And I just wanted to say this scripture before we get off here and then say a quick prayer. Psalms 32, 8 and 9. It says, I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. Do not be like the horse or the mule, which have no understanding, but must be controlled by a bit and bridle, or they will not come to you. Listen to the Lord. Let the Lord counsel you, because he does love you, and he will teach you, and he will show you. It might take time, and it might not be on your time, but nothing is ever on our time. So don't be stubborn and like the mule or the horse. So I just wanted to leave you with that today, and I'll say a quick prayer, and we'll end the show here, and I'll see you guys. I'll just pray real quick.
Go ahead.
Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this time that we get on this show, Father, and the words that you give us, Father. And I thank you for each and every one in this world, Father, that we get to love on and share your love with, Father. And I pray that as we go out through today, that we would just not worry about tomorrow or the worries ahead of us, Father, and that we would just focus on you and what's ahead of us today, and that we would just love on you, and you would just guide us to the people who need love, Father. And that the Holy Spirit, you would just come in and just surround us, Father, and just give us comfort. People who are at home and don't have that comfort right now, and especially on the more shut down areas, that you would just give them comfort and peace during this time. And for all the family members who have lost somebody during this time, and I pray that you would just comfort them, Father, because it's not easy to go through grief, whatever kind of grief it is. So I pray that you would just comfort us, Father, and as we go throughout our days, you would just encourage us. And we love you in everything that we do. Amen. Thank you all for watching. I love you all. Come back. Watch next Thursday, 9 a.m. I will be on time this time. I started at like 9:10 this morning, so I apologize.
There'll be a telethon going on next week on Thursday.
Okay, telethon next week, Thursday.
There'll be a sandwich making competition
Okay.
during this portion. So
do I get to eat a sandwich?
I'm pretty sure if you're here, yeah.
All right.
At least
Cool.
try some.
There we go.
Yeah, that'll be next Thursday.
Okay.
So the following Thursday, you'll have to follow up with your cousin.
Okay, so next Thursday I won't be able.
Next Thursday, but be here because it's still you're going to have a co-host.
Okay.
I don't know exactly who it's going to. I think Bill Kitchen,
Okay.
right, an executive chef, is going to be here.
Okay. So part 2 will be the following week after next week then.
Yep.
With my cousin. So, yeah. So still come watch next Thursday, 9 a.m. And then we'll continue with my cousin the week after next week's telethon.
$1 equals one vote.
Yes. $1 equals one vote. So yeah, come watch next Thursday, please, and share. I will remind you. So thank you all. I've been saying this repeatedly for the past 2 minutes. Love you all. Bye-bye.
You're just really thankful. Bye, everybody.